There's no shortage of excellent games in the PS2's legendary library, but a byproduct of that is that not all of these excellent games saw nearly as much commercial success as they deserved to. For a variety of reasons, there were several titles on the system that just didn't sell very well, in spite of being really good games. In this feature, we'll take a closer look at some of these underappreciated games. OKAMI. OKAMI is one of the best games Capcom has ever put out, and looking at their impressive catalog of games over the years, that is no small praise. With its beautiful aesthetic, its engaging gameplay, and fantastic design, it stands out as one of the best games on every system it's playable on. That said, the sales of this game were nowhere near as good as that sort of praise warrants, with only a little over 500,000 units sold in 3 years. Hopefully, Capcom decides to give this property another shot. Freedom Fighters. Freedom Fighters was by no means a perfect game, and issues such as the squandered potential of its interesting premise and a short runtime bogged it down a bit. But other positives, especially its engaging and tactical gunplay, made it a game that was definitely worth experiencing. Sadly, it turned out that the game simply couldn't garner the attention it needed for those positive aspects to really shine through. That said, in 2017, IO Interactive purchased the rights to Freedom Fighters from Square Enix, so perhaps there's still hope for a sequel after all. Keep your fingers crossed. The Warriors. Remember when Rockstar made more than just Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption? During the PS2 era, they were always willing to branch out and make interesting new things. The Warriors, based on the 1979 movie of the same name, was very different from what we expect from Rockstar these days. But boy, was it good. But the sad reality of this industry is that good doesn't always mean successful, and The Warriors failed to become more than just a cult classic. VIEWTIFUL Joe. OKAMI isn't the only visually stylistic and conceptually unique Capcom game to feature on this list. VIEWTIFUL Joe has a striking aesthetic, and its side-scrolling beat-em-up gameplay was praised in all corners for how intense and fast it felt. However, sales for the game were largely disappointing, and even though it did turn a profit thanks to its low-budget development, the game's commercial performance still fell below Capcom's expectations. PSYCHONAUTS. To this day, PSYCHONAUTS is considered one of the best and most inventive platformers of the PS2 era. Its critical and commercial success at its time of release, though, were diametrically opposed, with publishers Majesco even incurring massive losses as a result of the game's poor sales. Thankfully, the game managed to sell quite well over time as the years went by, after Double Fine acquired the rights to the property. Here's hoping the sequel sees more immediate success. Beyond Good and Evil. Beyond Good and Evil is a cult classic by this point, but you know the thing about cult classics, they're cult classics because they didn't sell too well. Beyond Good and Evil was exciting and ambitious, but the lack of awareness people had about the property and the busy release window it launched in led to disappointing sales. Hopefully the sequel, whenever it comes out, will fare better and, you know, be good. Shadow of Rome. Yep, another Capcom game. Unlike OKAMI and VIEWTIFUL Joe, though, Shadow of Rome definitely seemed, on face value at least, like a game that should have done well, as a hack-and-slash and stealth title with a visual aesthetic that definitely had more mass market appeal. That didn't happen, of course, and in spite of a lot of interesting ideas, the game was deemed a commercial failure. A sequel had already been in development before the first game even came out, in fact, but Capcom ended up canceling it due to its poor sales. Zone of the Enders, the second runner. Zone of the Enders, sadly enough, never truly managed to get off the ground in terms of success. The second runner was, like its predecessor, quite well received from critics and those who played it, but as far as how it was presented to the larger audiences, it always felt like Konami looked at it like a second-tier franchise. The second game in the series suffered disappointing results, even in Japan, and a good mech action game selling low in Japan is a pretty big deal. Giants, Citizen Kabuto. Giant's citizen KABUTO dared to do some different things with its blend of strategy and shooting elements, and it pulled them off very well. By its very nature, though, because it tried different things, it also didn't attract the masses. It's a real shame, too, because this is the kind of concept that could have been taken to exciting heights with sequels. 13. 13 is one of those games that may not have had glowing reception upon launch, but has managed to accrue a dedicated fan following for itself over the years. It was stylish, it was unique, and at times it was just pure genius. Sadly, it also had niche written all over it, and its sales ended up being a disappointment. Let's just hope the upcoming remake manages to sell as well as the original should have. TIMESPLITTERS. TIMESPLITTERS was clearly enough of a success that it managed to spawn multiple sequels, but when you look at how good the first game was and how many interesting ideas it had, you can't help but feel that its quality wasn't reflected in its sales, which were mediocre at best. Was it an absolute flop? Well, no. But did it sell nearly as much as it could and should have? Not even close. Killer 7. Suda51 has a lot of games under its belt that have been praised by all those who have played them, but have still managed to not sell very well. Killer 7, sadly enough, was one such game. It was typically eccentric and unbelievably stylish, and the pure and simple act of playing it was absolutely exhilarating. It's a shame that more people didn't get to experience it. Frequency. Though they've largely been inactive in recent years, Harmonix was once at the peak of its powers, delivering one beloved hit after another. Frequency on the PS2 was yet another music-driven game that a lot of people really like, or those that played it at any rate. In spite of the critical reception, Harmonix openly admitted not long after release that Frequency hadn't sold nearly as well as they'd been hoping it would. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from GamingBolt, please hit the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to switch on the notifications bell icon next to it. That way you'll never miss any of our videos. Thanks for watching.